Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Leadership Conference. Here, we are bringing together thought leaders, presenters, researchers, channels, wisdom keepers, astrologers, and many more who will each offer their unique perspective on some of the biggest questions the world is wondering about at this time. Why does it feel like everything is breaking down? When will the breakthrough arrive? And what kind of leadership do we need next in our world to uplift and empower humanity so we can thrive and joy and abundance on the other side of these great changes? For those of you who are listening in, who are attending this beautiful event, we invite you to remember that you are a next level leader. You are here to help in creating the brightest possibilities for the future of humanity. Here in the Quantum Leadership Conference, you will receive tools, strategies, paradigm shifting research, and groundbreaking information that will empower you to step into your brightest leadership, embrace your purpose, welcome in financial abundance, and change the world in exactly the way that feels most fulfilling and inspiring to you. You are here to shine in your unique genius, brilliance, and creativity. Allow us to support and inspire you on your journey. I am Jocelyn Star Feather. I'll be your host and guide for the Quantum Leadership Conference. And today I am absolutely delighted to be here with Dr. John Ryan. Welcome, John. Thank you so much for being a part of our gathering.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here, and a big hello to the listening audience as well. It's beautiful moments we get to share in these times, so I'm glad to be here very much.
Yes, so wonderful to have you here, John. And so let me share a little bit more about your work for those who perhaps may not know you yet. John Ryan, MD, is a professor of medicine and practitioner of energy and consciousness-based medicine. He is an author of Unity Field Healing, Volume 1, Foundations of Energy Medicine and Quantum Healing. And he is the founder of Unity Field Healing, UFH for short, a new quantum process based on conscious activation of the DNA field to support healing and personal evolution. John channels the Syrian Blue White Collective, who support UFH and humanity's ascension by DNA enhancement. And so, your topic for today, John, is quantum leadership inspiring humanity through the light of higher consciousness. And I can't wait to hear what you will say about quantum leadership in our world today and going forward. So, could you begin by telling us, John, how is leadership evolving as we move forward into the shift of the ages?
Sure. I think we have to take a little step back to answer that question because we have to understand that something profound is happening on the planet. Now, I know many people in the listening audience, in this specific listening audience, will be very attuned to the process that's happening on the earth, this shift of the ages, this ascension process, the consciousness expansion, all the different ways that we term and phrase what's happening on the planet. We realize we're moving into a new consciousness time frame. It's a whole new epoch or a whole new era of human civilization. And so we're leaving a period of deep polarity. And dare I say, patriarchal hierarchy. Kind of hand in hand, they go together. But it's the energy and the overlighting consciousness influence of the time we're walking out of. But the time we're walking into is a very different frame of human consciousness. We're ascending into a period of genuine unity consciousness. And we understand that humanity operates not just as individuals, but as a collective. We're actually one family. We're a united group of beings. And we're not just one with each other as humanity, we're one with the planet, we're one with the solar system, we're one with the galaxy if we want to get really big, which is just happens to be true. And so we're awakening to this understanding. It's something that's been held sacred in indigenous cultures for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And when we look in ancient cultural references, we understand that this was actually understood long ago and then forgotten through the period of duality that we've walked. And we're just at the threshold of this awakening. It's a long period of time to follow. It's a whole era of about 26,000 years in front of us as we kind of step into this next cycle of this next frame of being. And as we do that, we have to adjust. We're transitioning from old to new, and we're kind of shedding our skin, if you will. We're leaving behind this old pattern of being and way of thinking and way of living. And that is enormous. It touches everything. It touches our daily lives. It touches our societal organizations. It touches our education. It touches our medicine. It touches our life in every single way we can possibly imagine. And so leadership is critical in this new time because we need to have people who have stepped into that understanding or are stepping into that understanding and into the power that's aligned with that understanding to be there to help guide the process and kind of midwife the process, if you will, forward in time. So I think a conversation about leadership and an understanding of leadership is so fundamental and important as we cross the threshold. And so as we do this, leadership will flow with the changing pattern of consciousness. And what it meant to be a leader in the old energy and what it means to be a leader in the new energy will shift radically. What we would identify as a good leader in the old versus a good leader in the new will be two very different people. And at the center of this new thinking is the realization or appreciation of the essential spiritual nature of life, all of life, humanity, nature, and for the bold minded, like we said, a whole great family of beings that exist throughout the universe that we're going to come to know in this next generation of time. And what we're learning is that we're part of something greater and grander than we understood or imagined in the old energy. And our goal is to manifest collectively the potentials that lie within this awakening. And so, leadership that's aligned with the essence, the meaning, the power of this transformation is the leadership that will thrive in the times we're moving into. And so, there's a few things to understand. I just kind of want to make highlights of them or point them out. The difference between a leader and leadership. Leadership is a quality that we all hold, and it's something that we express in our daily lives. It's exhibited by our thoughts, by our actions, by the way we interact with other beings, by the way we interact with animals, by the way we interact with nature. And we can express and demonstrate leadership in the way we be as a human being in our daily lives. And it's actually the greatest way to lead is by example. If we're really leadership is a way of being, it's not really a job posting. A leader is a person who you might identify in a role that has the responsibility to lead in different ways. But we shouldn't really limit the notion of leadership to someone who's in charge. That's really an old way of thinking. We're each responsible for our actions, our inactions, our intentions, the way we align our reality with the future and with what we want to create in an intentional way for the future. So we're all leaders, as you pointed out. Everybody has a leadership role, especially everybody who is awakening to the new paradigm and has some understanding of the new paradigm. It's really important, it's vital that we all express leadership in ways to guide the future forward as exemplars, if you will, by manifesting. There are different manifestations of leadership. There's leadership within our families, there's leadership within our communities, there's leadership within professional organizations, in political forces, in social forces. There's national leadership, international leadership. There's leadership at every realm of life, if you will. And so they're all important and they're all essential. And the new leadership and the new frame of leadership has to infiltrate all these spaces ultimately so that the force of consciousness that's guiding the world of humanity in all these places is touched by the new energy and the new way of thinking. And I think the other thing to highlight is we're coming to terms with the spiritual adage that there are two ways to serve as human beings. One is you serve yourself. The second is you serve humanity. And people who are inward focused, who are trying to lead in ways that are all about self promotion, self aggrandizement, becoming powerful, usurping power, all this kind of stuff, it's extremely old energy and extremely passe. But people who think in a different framework, they understand they have a role, like a responsibility to take care of themselves, of course. But really, our role as human beings is to express something that will serve the greater family of humanity in some way. And that can be as straightforward as childcare, or being a teacher at a school, or being the garbage person who collects the garbage on the street. All of these are roles of service that you know have an important role or function in humanity. But to be of the mind frame, to be set in your mind that your job or role in the world is to serve in some way that is truly aligned with your own essence and your own spirit. It's not all about you. It's not all about becoming important ourselves. It's not all about ego aggrandizement and all that kind of stuff. It's about being in a role where we really feel good and align with the greater spiritual potential of humanity by giving to humanity and giving to the planet in some way. And then it's not limited to humanity. It may be in service to animals. It could be in service to nature. It could be in service to spirit. So, but we're serving something bigger than ourselves. We're part of something grander than just our own way of life. And so leadership in the new times will focus on service towards the betterment of humanity. And it will involve recognizing the talents, the abilities of everyone in our environment, and discovering how to help people manifest these talents and passions and help them emerge them towards the collective goals of a brighter future for humanity in some way. So, a long answer. I wanted to cover a bunch of different ideas in that.
Yes, thank you so much, John. And I think it's so important what you pointed out here is that the ways that we see leadership or perceive leadership or consider people to be leaders in our world today is a very old concept. It's a very old construct that is going to be moving out
Yeah. Yeah.
faster
Check out of the door.
here, and that there's a very new kind of leadership that is
Yeah.
needed, that is already rising up in our world. Um, in so many ways, and that is just that's just amazing, to think, because we can see how the old politics, the old systems, the old, way of doing things in the world is just not working. We see it collapsing, and
Yeah.
leadership is a key and essential part of what we're building next. So thank you for pointing that out in such a beautiful way.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. So could you tell us what are some of the cardinal features that we'll be seeing in excellent leaders as we move into the energy of the new times?
All right. Well, I'm sitting with one, Jocelyn, because you are an excellent leader.
Oh, thank you.
So, the way that I would express it is a leader in this new energy is a leader, as a conscious leader. They have a consciousness about them that is aligned with the energy of the moment and the energy of the future. So, in summary, I would say they express a spiritual maturity. And so, in energetic terms, a good leader is someone who has processed a lot of their own personal healing, and they've found home in the core energy alignment of their own soul being. So, it's a little bit of a strange answer when we're talking about something like leadership. I know that we tend to speak in more 3D terms when we hear conversations about leadership and stuff. But really, the leader of the future is someone who is soul aligned. They've done the personal work of learning how to be self-aware, how to be attuned to their own energy, and how to rest in their core alignment in their interactions with the world and in life in different ways. And so a good leader will embody or manifest a mature spirituality, a balanced wisdom, if you will. They'll know when to say yes. They'll know when to say no. They'll know how to see the need behind an expressed idea. There'll be a maturity around the way that they relate to the people that they're working with or guiding. And so to kind of break it up, we're very linear in our human minds. So we like ideas that we can conceptualize. But so to break it out into features, I would say they would express an emotional intelligence. So they would understand their own emotions, their own reactions, their own biases, their own fears, their own strengths, their own, beauty, and be empathetic to others when they're speaking to them. They can hear beyond the words and into the essence or the energy or sometimes the emotional vibration that lies behind the words that someone is sharing with you. And so you can have a full body conversation. You can express not just mentality or ideas, you can feel into it and you can understand what they're trying to create or get at, or in a more negative sense, perhaps manipulate. So you're aware of that kind of energy as well. And so you have this emotional intelligence that guides your interactions and your reactions to things that you're living as a leader. There's an authenticity to this person. They lead with integrity, with transparency, staying true to values and principles that we'd all recognize as kind of spiritual norms. They're not always human norms, but they're spiritual norms, and inspire and trust loyalty in the people around them by being genuine and consistent in their own actions and words. They're kind of a living exemplar of that kind of authenticity. They have a self awareness, they're reflective, they understand their own strengths, their own weaknesses. They can understand how somebody would be very supportive to them given their own strengths and weaknesses, how you can work with another person who has different strengths and weaknesses than you do, and motivations, etc., and using that self-awareness to make thoughtful decisions and foster personal growth. They'll always be aware that there are things to learn. They'll always be aware that just when they think they are the best person they can be, they're going to learn something else that will make them even a little bit of a better person or a little bit better spiritual expression of their own truth, if you will. And so we're always open to learn from others and to learn from experiences. And so this kind of self-awareness is encapsulated, I think, in that idea. They'll express the notion that they are in service to others. They will adopt a servant leader mindset, not a servant to their own self worth mindset. They'll prioritize the well being, the growth, the benevolence to the team, to the community they're serving, to the world around them, to nature, however that manifests in the particular environment that the leader is playing a role. But they'll always be cognizant of the fact that a leader is not a bully. A leader is a servant to the greater cause. It's more to an ideal or to a potential than it is simply to serving their own ambitions. And they'll encourage collective success in that framework through support, collaboration, empowerment. The greatest thing you'll see a good leader do is acknowledge other people's excellence. So when someone is not intimidated or jealous or afraid of somebody else doing something excellent in service to the greater good, they'll be the first person to highlight it, point it out. They'll want to um, lift another person up. They'll want to raise the spirit of the other person and to help them succeed and thrive. And I think the last point I would say is visionary thinking. It would be a person who has kind of a clear, purpose driven vision, focusing on long term or sustainable impact, focused around the ideas that they understand are important to try to incarnate or develop or manifest in the world in different ways. So to have a sacred vision, really, a vision that serves humanity in some way, and be really focused on it in a way that this whole vision kind of guides their choices, their purpose, their actions, their activities, the things that they decide to do, and that they're really good at inspiring others to work towards the vision, like to be able to put their eyes on the same goal and understand collectively, not convince people that they have to follow your goal, but to have a goal and let people be drawn to it. And if they are, then they can participate in pulling the best out of themselves to move forward in the same goal or same alignment for the benefit of society and all the organizational structures that we live within. So those are the five things I would kind of highlight as excellence in leadership.
Amazing, amazing. I love this. I feel deep truth here in what you're saying. I have this really strong conviction that the light workers, the healers, the intuitives, the empaths, the highly sensitive people are rising now and are
Yeah,
going to be our next level leaders. And it's so aligned with
100%. Yeah.
everything you're saying here.
Yeah. So much so true. And we see it a lot in the young, like the young people who are kind of just stepping into leadership. You see some of the young politicians or the young members in different societies and organizations who have a very different frame of thinking, a way of thinking, but they're just budding. They're just starting to to bloom, if you will. But you can see the difference in their frame of thinking and in the way they want to work and participate and stuff. So you can see we're in good hands, but we're just at the threshold of that change.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so amazing to see that breaking through. Yeah. So here's an interesting question. Do leaders need followers?
uh, Okay, let's see. Well, the answer is no. So, leadership is not about accumulating followers in the conventional sense. And I think we even fall more into the trap of this in modern day with social media because it's all about having a following or, a network. But that's not really the goal of leadership. That people's participation in things should be generated from their own essence, from their own attraction to something or the ideal of something we're developing a brighter change, future or potential change in the way we know things. So it's not about having followers for the sake of followers or people who aggrandize a certain leader just because of their role in a group or in a civilization. So it's certainly not about gaining power or recognition for one's own sake or for the manipulation of others or society or humanity. We see that so much in the old energy. People who really rose to high positions of leadership would fall into the trap of power. And when you hold power at a certain level in society or an organization, there's always the threat or the risk that you'll be corrupted by that power. And so it's kind of the human drama. It's part of the big human essence drama of all the things that we have to go through as a soul on the earth. But as you mature into that, you realize that that's hollow, that's really empty. And the more you're really focused on that, it comes to a dead end because you realize you could have everything in the world, but you have nothing if you don't have truth, if you don't have a spiritual connection and an understanding of being present with for other people and for humanity as a whole. So leadership is really about inspiring a genuinely collective vision. It's not about me, it's about the vision. It's not about you, it's about the vision. So people kind of fall in alignment with the ideals or trying to do something that they see beneficent or for the good of society or for the good of humanity. And so I guess I break it up into a few kind of key aspects to understand. Leadership is a role of service, not self aggrandizement. True leadership is about it's not about becoming an iconic figure or a star who's glorified. It's a leader who is the steward of a higher vision. And we've seen this over and over. The great leaders of history, the Martin Luther Kings, for example, their leadership was never about their self-importance. It was about an ideal. It was about manifesting an ideal. And I think it's a really good example or template, if you will, for us to understand to step into that way of being. So the goal of leadership is to create conditions that bring out the best in others and allowing them to contribute to the common ideal. And this way, leadership is selfless. It's rooted in the desire to serve and uplift rather than be worshipped by people in the way that we would traditionally see. The two is that leaders are catalysts for collective growth. And so leadership doesn't exist to simply gather followers, but to inspire a collaboration around a shared purpose. So a leader is someone who gains wisdom and perspective, often through their own trials and tribulations and life experiences and soul journey. And they step into a place of greater wisdom. And this can even happen over the course of multiple lifetimes for those who are, framed spiritually. And you find yourself in a place where you have a wisdom about you that is innate and spiritually given. And it's the nature of a human who's awakened to the divinity within them, if you will. And the role is to embody and model that, and so that the values and ideas that contribute to the growth of the collective or the group is present. And so it's about empowering others to really rise to their fullest potential, not to be glorified by them towards yourself. Leaders foster environments of empowerment. So a true leader is an environment that lives in an environment that nurtures creativity and accountability and unity. They don't need followers in the sense of dependency. They provide the tools, the space, the encouragement necessary for people to thrive in alignment with the vision. And then leadership is really beyond followers. It's some of the most influential leaders are not even known publicly or followed in a traditional sense. These leaders work quietly in the background. They're doing their leadership as a force of alignment and vision, and they're supported by spirit and people around them, but they're not on the news and they're not famous in any kind of a way. And this, to be honest, is the way most leaders live their life. They're just doing their work quietly behind the scenes without a lot of fanfare. And their leadership is measured by the impact that they have on their families, their communities, their surroundings in different ways. and not the number of people who know them or the public acclaim that they're given as a human being. So to kind of sum it up, a genuine leader is, rather than needing followers, really seeks to remain aligned to an empowered community. And the leadership is defined by the act of leading others not in a hierarchical sense, but by catalyzing unity and higher purpose, and them awakening to their own potential and power to play a role in that collective future.
Beautiful, beautiful. I have a few thoughts I want to reflection here. One is I'm kind of giggling to myself as I'm hearing some of these examples you're giving. I'm just seeing it's so fascinating. I see this kind of clash between the old leadership and the new leadership playing out in a really interesting way on YouTube.
Mhm.
Because YouTube is an amazing platform
Mhm.
to, share a message, to share a vision, that kind of thing. And I see so many people who have just fallen into this trap of I have to get the biggest headlines, I have to get the most followers, I have to, get the most subscribers, and it's a false path.
Yeah.
And then I see other people who might be pretty soft spoken, but have a really powerful message that they're sharing out there. Right. And it's so interesting because it's like that. It seems to be an understated power, but the humility that goes with that and the deep, like spiritual levels of knowing that come with that, being able to be a more quiet leader. It's interesting. I really feel the power of that those sorts of leadership rising. Um, so that was one.
Yeah, it's an incredible observation, and it's so true. Like, because we're all kind of nested in the old energy, and we're all developing models. Like, we follow advice and guidance that people give. So like a YouTube guru will give advice that would, create a certain kind of suggestions or framework, but it may not be aligned at all with the essence of the work you're doing or the person you are. And if you have 10,000 followers, but only 500 of them are really aligned with your message, it's empty. It's an emptiness. Now, people can be mixed in both. I guess you can still have an important message, an important role, and maybe have followers that are not really aligned with the message, but at the same time, what you're doing is important. and
Yeah.
and you can kind of, but I think you can relax. Like, if someone finds themselves in that framework and they're doing something in the new consciousness, to just take a breath and relax, and not focus on that. Focus on the truth, focus on the integrity, focus on the value of the message, because in the end, the the rest of it's noise, and the way that that manifests in energy is light dark. And so there's either clarity of light or cloud of dark. And so all of that, the light is obscured a little bit by it, but then as it shines through, all of that washes away and the light remains. And so just stay true to the path, true to the message, and all of that will unfold in a way that will take care of itself with time, for sure.
Mm. Yes, definitely. And another thing that was coming up for me is that one of the most powerful ways we can be leaders is as parents or grandparents, or educators, right? Working with our young people
Yeah.
and helping them to perceive what their beliefs are, what's really true for them, what's really in highest integrity for them and how they want to live their best life. So what an amazing, thought that for all of you out there who are parents, grandparents, educators, you may not have followers, but you're doing an amazing thing for our future.
Very important. And also too, with the children, the because of the shift in the energy, we've kind of covered this in other interviews we've had, Jocelyn, how there's an energetic change that's taking place, and there's a group of people who are kind of living through the energy transformation, but the kids, when they come back, are born into a different energy. And so they're kind of born different. We talk about the indigo kids and these kinds of things, but the children are born in a very different frame of consciousness. And the greatest thing that we can do in being leaders, as parents and those kinds of things, is listen and let the children speak. Let them kind of define and tell you things, because they'll have awareness around things that are not necessarily in our mindset. And when we make the space for them to open and share and participate in those kinds of conversations, they bring incredible ideas and values forward that can be so instrumental in this new world we're talking about because they're all packed up with this information. They have it in their genes. And so as they grow into adulthood, if they're encouraged to live like that and to respect each other in the same frame, they'll be really well founded for what they're here to do in the future.
Yes. Yes, I love that. I'm thinking, John, I will find that interview where we talked about that, and I will link that below this one, just so if people are interested, they can learn more about what you're
Sure,
doing.
yeah.
So that's so important.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, wonderful. So could you tell us next, what are some modalities that leaders can use to manifest in their groups in this new era?
So, a good question. So, modalities, when we think of modalities, it's kind of like a structural framework, I guess, or things that we can do as an exercise or, a practice to kind of foster good leadership. But so I just kind of highlight five things that I think are important. One is mindfulness. Now, when we think about mindfulness, we think about, maybe you're familiar with, being mindful, or John Kabat-Zinn's work on practicing mindfulness and being present in the moment and all of this. And that's really what it is. But mindfulness is really presence. It's about being able to be fully embodied in the moment you're in. And so if you're having a meeting, you're not thinking of four things, and you're not distracted by your phone, and you're not answering emails, and you're not doing all of these things at the same moment you're trying to have that encounter with your group. And so to first of all understand the importance of it, and to show it, to exemplify it in your own behavior, if you will, if you're in a leadership role, but also encourage or nurture it within the group of people that you're with. If people are not present in the time you're spending together, it's going to be a distraction to the power or the coherence of the energy of the moment. So I always like to start a meeting with a moment of silence, like everybody just still, turn your phone off for the meeting, or whatever it is you need to do to remain undistracted. Take a moment, connect together. If you're more spiritually minded, you can do a little energy exercise or a little meditation, whatever works in your setting. But just take a moment to create coherence within the group at the very beginning. And it's a simple little exercise, but it's incredibly powerful, Jocelyn, in effective meetings. It's when people are in that space and you start to have discussions around things you're planning or whatever, you open yourself to insight and to intuition and to hearing on an energy level that's not necessarily audible in words or ideas. So you can really bring in fabulous creativity and inspired thinking. And it is a really powerful way of manifesting together in a group vision. So to create an environment, really, where mindfulness and presence is really part of the story, if you will. Fostering collaborative leadership. So encouraging not one person to be the leader of other people, but for everybody to express their own leadership skills, to let people speak about things they're well versed in or they know about, or to participate in the conversation in a way where they can really bring something from their own history, their own background, their own wisdom into the conversation. And we realize it's not one person just leading a group of people. There may be a leader of the meeting, but everybody participating is a leader in their own way. And so inviting this collaborative way of being. And it really fosters open dialogue, mutual respect, empowering collective problem solving, which are all fabulous ideas, of course, as we all know. So the third is visionary storytelling. And so something I really like is the power of the metaphor. Like we can say, as brilliant as a thousand suns. And so even though we'll never see a thousand suns, we can imagine how luminous that would be just by the power of the metaphor. And so something that I always would encourage people to do when we're trying to come up with a creative solution is, let's make something up. Let's tell a story about a solution and create like a fable or a little tale that kind of talks us through the nature of the problem and how we're going to work our way out of it. So it's a fun little exercise that people can do together if they're stuck on creating a solution, and just dream and imagine, for through the frame of story or storytelling, what a solution might look like. And it's amazing when we open our creativity like that, how little things can flow in that can then be applied in a very practical and tangible way, even though they're only expressed metaphorically through the story. So that's a fun way of doing it. Transformational coaching and mentorship. If you're working with a group of people, really invite everybody or support or even participate in nurturing them and doing coaching work, showing them how to succeed in the things that they're trying to do, and mentor people with the skills you have, and be open to being mentored by someone who has skills that you need. And, to play this role of coaching each other, I guess, if you will. So it's similar to collaborative leadership, but it's more directive. It's more engaging in a way where we're really trying to help people in a very forthright way about developing skills and abilities and these kinds of things that would serve them well and serve the collective or the group or the ideal. And being in energetic and vibrational alignment. It's really important when we're working together to create and then maintain, do all the things we need to maintain and nurture a high vibrational space, positive and a harmonious atmosphere around the project or what we're doing. And this can be like a physical space. You can have a room that you set up in a certain way. You can empower it with crystals. You can bring in nature. You can make it a room that everybody loves to be in, that's open to nature. You have a window and all this kind of stuff. A place where when you walk into the space, the energy of the space supports the mission, it supports the collective, it supports the purpose, and do whatever needs to be done. There's so many beautiful wisdoms like feng shui or these kinds of things that can help us set up a physical space, but to be also conscious on a more energetic and psychological domain where we don't bring in all of the negativity or the stresses that can be brought into situations, and that we make a pure space. And we really are conscious of that, and we correct it when we find we're out of alignment. So like if you're in a meeting and everybody's getting emotional and nasty or whatever, then it needs a reset. That's not going to be a solution oriented day. So we're just going to stop for a minute. Let's all center ourselves. Let's take a breath and figure out what the real problem we're trying to solve is. Let's stop the personal insults. Let's, let that kind of stuff go and correct and get back into the proper alignment. So to be conscious of energy and conscious of the nature of that. We think in psychological terms, and we frame that a lot in psychological terms, but I think it's more valuable to think of it in energetic terms, because it's not simply a psychological manifestation. If I'm being defensive and I'm saying something that's insulting and all of this kind of stuff, it changes the energy of the space, and the energy can be corrected. So if you're aware of what's happening, you can actually stop the process and go into a space of healing and correcting the energy alignment. And then what will happen is if you try to do that in a group context, if someone can't align with that potential and possibility, they will self exclude. They'll get to a point where they'll say, I can't participate in this. I don't want to do this anymore. And that may seem like a bad thing, but it's not if the person is not aligned with their own soul's essence to be part of it in the first place. So you understand, like it creates its own corrections, and it kind of keeps the energy clear and pure and aligned with the vision and the purpose. So they're all little things that you can do, I think, as a leader to kind of keep the energy high.
What an amazing list of tools you have just given us. Thank you, John. I invite everybody, when you get to the end of the interview, go back and listen to that part again, especially. um, that was just a wealth of tools and support that we can bring in. So that was just wonderful. Thank you. I was thinking about for all those in the Sacred Planet audience, and probably most people listening, you'll agree. I was thinking, bring in, if the energy is going off track, bring in the Palo Santo and the crystals, and it will clear it up.
100%.
Yes, that's
100%.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I have one more question for you, John, which is, for those listening who may be thinking, wow, I feel like I'm meant to be a leader in some way. I feel like I have a vision I'm meant to bring forward to help in the world, but I haven't found it yet, or I don't know how to get on that path. What would you say? What advice would you give them?
That's such a beautiful question, Jocelyn, because I think it's a place so many people find themselves in. We're in this transitional space where our life has been something up until a certain now, and then there's a spiritual awakening of some kind that enters into the fray, and you are going through your own process of transformation, but you don't know the end goal. And we're really goal oriented. We always think I have to have the defined goal to know where I'm going. But the energy of this new space operates a little differently. And so the biggest advice I would give to someone is to not, first of all, just to relax around that idea, not to be stressed by it, not to be anxious about it, not to be frustrated about it, but to understand there's no solution in trying to find a solution that you can think about. So what I mean by that is the only way I've ever solved problems that I don't know the answers to is by surrendering. So I can have the problem. I can say, I don't know what to do about and fill in the blank. Or I'd like to participate in some meaningful way, but I don't know what it is. Like I can't fill in the blank. And so once I become aware of the issue or the concept or the limitation or the, whatever we want to call that, then what I will do is a prayerful moment. And I'll say, I don't see my way through this. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. So I'm going to ask for guidance. I'm just going to surrender this issue to spiritual guidance. Because when you start awakening, what you realize is you don't have to have all your own answers. You're part of this big, beautiful universe. And the universe is always trying to guide us and help us if we learn to listen. But it can talk to us until we're blue in the face, and we won't hear the answer if we're not poised to receive from the universe that which we need to hear. So what I do is I'll surrender it and I'll say, guide me. And then I'll stop thinking about the problem altogether. And I'll let the universe step in and show me. And what will happen is it might take a day, it might take a week, it might take a month. There's no time frame when we talk about spiritual transformation because the time will be perfect for when our energy is poised to receive it. And so, if it takes a little longer than we would like in our impatient human frame, we have to be self understanding around that and just kind of let it take the time it needs. But be open to being guided and then learning to listen intuitively and to the synchronicities that unfold before you because the universe speaks in a different language. It doesn't, for most people, it doesn't come in and speak in words in our ear. What will happen is you will find yourself in a situation where something kind of miraculous unfolds that you weren't expecting, that you couldn't have really planned for, but you will understand it's the universe's way of responding to the intention that you had put out. And so, and it, and as we're, if we're unfolding a bigger picture, it may come in steps. It may not be one synchronicity or one answer. So, for example, I'm trying to give a concept, but I want to make it really practical. If somebody says, I don't know what to do with my life, I don't really know, what I want to participate in or, how I want to engage in this change or this transformation. So we go through this little process. We say, look, I don't know. I'm surrendering this now to spirit. Please guide me. Please help me. I'm open to the guidance and then forgetting, walking away. And then 2 days later, you're opening your email and there's an invitation to do something. And you think, oh, that's kind of interesting. But you have to pay attention because your intuition responds immediately. You will feel a pulse to participate, or you will ignore it because it's not for you, or you will feel this pulse to participate. And you'll think, oh, yeah, no, not a good time, or it's whatever. And the rational will kick in and it will kind of talk us out of it. Learn to ignore all of that when your soul speaks. And so, if it's really in you to do this, there's something in it that your soul is bringing you to that may not even be the purpose of the event, but it may be something you're going to connect to by participating in the event. So, for example, if you saw a workshop and you were drawn to go, but then, of course, you had to arrange childcare and it cost money and all the logic of everything that we all go through about things. But then you say, forget it. It just feels I'm supposed to do this, so I'm going to go. And then you go, and at the event, beautiful presentation, but you're sitting next to someone who is going to be a very key figure in the next thing you're going to do in your world. And you wouldn't have met that person if you didn't listen to the prompting to go to the event. So it isn't even the event that was the important catalyst. It was actually what was going to happen at the event for you as an individual soul. And so when we learn to listen in our lives that way, then the universe will guide us and it will create intuitions that guide and synchronicities that unfold. It's this beautiful dance between intuition and synchronicity, intuition and synchronicity. And then we'll be led. And the magical thing that happens is when we're looking for solutions we don't know the answers to, it's because we don't know. And so if we knew, we'd be able to fill in the blank. But because we don't know, we have to be open to something we don't know exists. And so we have to find a way to it without even knowing what it looks like or what it's all about. So if you just kind of follow this recipe and you learn to, follow that kind of guidance within your own inner being and let it take you through the choices you make and the things you engage in, what'll happen is your path will unfold. And then one day, a year later, you'll be completely engaged in something you would never have dreamt about if you had to fill in the blank yourself. And so it's a long answer, Jocelyn, but I think it's a really important one because I think we have to learn how to operate in this new way because the old way won't work. We're going into things we don't know. And it's important for us to understand that. And that's how we find them.
That was such a beautiful answer. Thank you so much for that. That has certainly been my experience on this magical journey since my awakening many years ago, that when I surrender, when I do something that I know in my heart is right, even though it might seem to others like it's out of left field, it takes me to the most amazing places. So it's
Yeah.
like accepting that it's okay if our mind doesn't know. There
Yeah.
are other ways of knowing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really unsettling to learn to live like that.
Mm,
If you're, especially if you're a person who likes control of your reality and these kinds of things, it's like, whoop. But you
it's
have to
scary.
do it. There's no other way. And we can think about it, we can analyze it, we can rationalize it. But the truth is there is no other way if you really want to follow your soul's path. So
Mhm. And this is what our indigenous, friends and our ancestors, way, way back in ancient times certainly knew and were connected in with. And that's such a
yeah,
big part of what we're remembering right now.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful correlation.
Well, thank you so much, John, for all that you've shared. It is always such a pleasure to speak with you. And I know you have a wonderful free gift for our audience that they can have a chance at winning 3 Unity Field healing sessions. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So unity field healing is an energy process for people who are familiar with energy work like Reiki or hands-on healing. But it's work that was derived from a series of visionary experiences that I had about working in the quantum field, what we call the quantum DNA or the 24th chromosome. And so it's an energy work that is based on sessions that are meant to help accelerate or catalyze the energy changes in the quantum DNA space to support either healing or personal transformation or well being or personal development. And so the sessions are kind of outlined. I won't go in detail because it's all on the website. People can read about it and learn about it. But the what the gift is the package of the 3 audio sessions. And so there's session 1, which is a DNA attunement, session 2, which is a light template attunement, and session 3 is intentional work in the actual 24th chromosome. And that can be repeated over and over and over again for different healings or different intentions. So I'll gift the whole 3 audio package to 3 of the people who enter the contest.
Amazing. What an amazing, amazing free gift. Thank you, John, for offering
You're
that.
welcome. You're so welcome.
Yes. And also, where can people find you online? And do you have any new announcements or new projects you want people to know about as they're listening here?
So yeah, so everything that I do is collectively under one website. It's unityfieldhealing.com. And so there's kind of 2 factions, I guess, to the website. There's the work of Unity Field Healing and everything related to that. Sessions, training, practitioners. There's about 500 practitioners now around the world who practice Unity Field Healing. And so people can connect with all those resources and knowledge on the website. And then the second aspect is the work around the Syrian Blue White Collective. It's a group of light beings who come to do channeled monthly transmissions and give messages about the shift and the change that's taking place. And so I do every month there's a transmission given by the Syrians, and we're just starting tonight. In fact, is the first although this it'll be a recorded interview, so it'll be historical by the time people listen to the interview. But it'll be the year 6 starts in October and runs to September of the following year. And this year's cycle is pulsed transmissions in the 24th chromosome. So they're going to help really work with us in that quantum space to activate healing, development, and spiritual integration. And so, but people can participate. If you've missed the first one or two, people can always go back and uh, subscribe to the annual program, and we'll get replays of anything that they've missed along the way. And there's a whole series of different meditations, both there and on the YouTube channel, for different aspects of healing and consciousness transformation that are all free. So I encourage people to explore that and see what resonates with them, and to follow through.
Much to explore. That is wonderful. And I can say the transmissions from the Syrian Blue White Collective are just, I mean, truly out of this world, but in their best way, really so healing, so powerful. And you can just, you're channeling this transmission through to us. We're receiving it as well. And it's really life-changing, paradigm shifting what's coming through. So thank you for all that you do to bring those messages through.
You're so welcome, Jocelyn. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you again, John. Is there any final thing that you wanted to say before we close for today?
I think I just maybe share a final thought on leadership, since that's kind of our theme for the moment. Just understand that conscious leadership is about unlocking your highest potential while guiding others to do the same. It starts with deep self awareness and authenticity, and it ripples outward to create environments of empathy, purpose, and collective thriving. And if you kind of think about that as the nature of leadership, I think you'll be really well rooted to always be in the right alignment, if you will, to be a good leader and a leader in the new energy. And so I encourage people to really take that to heart and to integrate that and express it, as I see so many people do. If we look around, the community of awakening people is so amazing and profound, and people are really aligned with these leadership principles already. So keep up the good work, and always be open to learn new things, and keep your soul so present in everything you do, and everything will unfold exactly the way it's supposed to, I promise.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for these wise words. And yes, it is already happening. It is already blossoming all around us, and that's so amazing.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Thank you again, John. Always such a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for all that you've shared here today. It's been so inspiring to hear.
Beautiful. Thank you. And thank you again to the audience too for listening and participating and blossoming.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, everybody out there listening, thank you so much for watching this interview. I hope you have received so much from it that will inspire you. And I look forward to seeing you soon in the next interview. Bye for now.